Hi, welcome to this episode of Active Aging. I'm excited to introduce our audience to Melissa Chambers. Melissa has been in healthcare for over 25 years, and she brings a plethora of experience to her clients. She has been a personal care home administrator, a certified dementia practitioner. She is a certified Alzheimer's disease and dementia care trainer, as well as a Second Wind Dreams virtual dementia tour certified trainer. She's been with the Alzheimer's Association as a support group facilitator for over 12 years. She's acted as a community educator for the Alzheimer's Association, a master trainer for the habilitation approach to dementia care using the Caring for People with Alzheimer's Disease curriculum through the Alzheimer's Association, a dementia friend, and a Dementia Friends champion through both Dementia Friends Ohio and Pennsylvania. Melissa has significant leadership experience in senior living. Her experience has included operations, sales and marketing, and education. And I had the pleasure of working with Melissa while she worked in hospice, and I can tell you that she is incredibly genuine, trustworthy, and honest. So we are very excited to have her here today talking about what she's doing right now to further serve the community and work with those that are looking for some help. So Melissa, thank you for being here today.
Thanks, Danielle. Thank you for having me.
Of course. So since we worked together many moons ago in hospice, you've done a lot of things with your career. We just talked about a lot of those impressive credentials. And now today you are having your own business as Melissa Chambers Consulting. So tell me a little bit about what brought you here and what the consulting service does and how you're working in the community.
Great. I would love to. So as you said, I have been in healthcare for 25 years, which makes me feel very dated when I say that. But for about the past 15 years, I really found what I am passionate about, which is the senior living industry, whether it be, in hospice care or in senior living, assisted living, memory care. That's really where my passion is to help the elderly, the senior population, and their families, really. When I went into the assisted living world, I quickly realized in our secure dementia neighborhood that our residents there did not really have a voice. They started losing their voice, and they became, their needs, some of them were getting met, some of them weren't, just because, sometimes the staff doesn't exactly know, what they need if they're not allowed to voice it. And so I then realized that the families really were just kind of clueless. And I don't say that in a negative way. I say that in a way that, they go to the doctor, they get the diagnosis, and then they go home. And then sometimes they don't know what they're supposed to say or how they're supposed to communicate with their loved ones. And so there was really a big, huge void there in the service gap. And so I started my company in January of 2020, about 6 weeks before the pandemic, which obviously hindsight, right? But I really think the service that I provide is super important. I think it got really delayed though, because of the pandemic. And, not that we want to always keep talking about COVID, but it's a thing and it's happening. And so because the senior living industry was sort of really affected and shut down for quite some time after the rest of the world started opening up, I continued, my company did continue to be affected, but I was helping people through Zoom a lot. And so anyways, so my company has been in business for 2 years, and we have helped a lot of families that are so grateful. And really my goal is to just let as many people know in the community that I'm around, that we can help and how we can help.
Absolutely. And I think one of the great things that Melissa brings to the table is that she's worked in this field. So she knows how things work on the provider end, but then she's also a family member and has been a caregiver and has, had family members that have worked through the system. So she has that appreciation on the personal side as well. And I know that you have some great services that we can offer to the professionals that are out there working as a healthcare consultant. And I'd like to talk to you a little bit about that if we've got time during the show. But I really want to start out by delving into the services that you are providing to people and their families. And so it seems like we've got two distinct services that Melissa is offering. The first is with being a dementia specialist. And we've talked at length as to how it is that you've got those credentials in order to be working in that space. And then you're also working in senior living placement. So helping individuals and families find the right place for their loved one to kind of transition to once the time is right. So which one do you want to kind of delve into first, Melissa? I'll let you lead that part of the conversation.
Sure. Thank you. We can do that. So through Melissa Chambers Consulting, I do a few things. And I guess the reason for that is because, I think as humans, we know what we can do and what we can't do to help. And so there were a few ways that I knew that I can help and that I was really passionate about helping families. So I just kind of decided to put them all together. So the first thing is through Melissa Chambers Consulting, and I call it a caregiver companion. It can really be anything that the family needs, but my goal is, like I said, talking about that gap in care. They go to the physician's office, something's wrong with their loved one. Maybe they're not acting the same, maybe they're not remembering things, maybe they go to visit mom or dad or sister or brother or friend, or maybe they're with their spouse and they realize they're not caring for themselves the way they used to, or maybe their house doesn't look in order the way it always did, or they're just not acting their usual selves. And so they go to the doctor. They talk to the doctor about this. Sometimes this can take years. Sometimes they keep going to the doctor and they're like, Melissa, the doctor keeps saying that my husband is fine and he's not fine. Well, because the doctor is only seeing what is happening right then and there in the office. And so, I can go on about recommendations on how to talk to the doctor about that. But so they finally get the diagnosis. And then, like I said, there's this gap. What do? They go home and now they feel they have a loved one that has some type of dementia, whether it's Alzheimer's or something else. And they don't really know what to do. They don't know what are the next steps, how to act. Sometimes friends start disappearing. Sometimes family starts backing away. And pretty soon it's just kind of them and their loved one. And so I want to be that gap. I want to fill in that gap, however it is that they need. My caregiver companion service is basically, sometimes there's family dynamics. Sometimes we have 5 kids in 5 different states and they all want 5 different things. And then mom and dad are sitting here like, well, we still want to be a part of this decision. And like, let's talk about this, but they can't because, we all have family dynamics. So I can help in that respect. A lot of times it's just some education, dementia, Alzheimer's disease, any type of dementia, it is much different than any other diagnosis. You have to know about it. You have to educate yourself. You have to learn about it because there's so much to it. And to be a caregiver, even to be just a loved one in someone's life, the more you know about it, the better things can go. And so we know the ending, unfortunately, and I can't do anything to change that. I wish I could. However, we can change the journey. We can change the caregiving journey, and we can try to make it a little more positive as we learn more about it. So providing education, that's one thing that I do. Work one-on-one with families to help provide education. They tell me a little bit about their loved one and maybe they don't know why he or she is doing this. And so I explain maybe some possibilities of why, offering suggestions or ideas of how to communicate or how to handle, behaviors when they're happening, things like that. Sometimes people call me and say, I'm out of town and I need someone to be at the assisted living once a week, just checking on mom. And there's no one else besides me. Can you help me? And so if it's something that I can do, I will do it. If it's something that's kind of out of my wheelhouse, then I will let them know. And I will try to point them in a way where they can, find another resource. But so that's kind of caregiving companion in a nutshell, just kind of helping the family, supporting them, educating them any way that I can. And that could be one family member, that could be the primary caregiver, or it could be, the whole family.
Mm-hmm. And I would imagine that that menu of services probably looks very different for every family that you're working with.
It does. So that is that service is private pay. Unfortunately, there is nothing through insurance that covers this type of insurance yet. I mean, hopefully someday that will change because it is so needed. But yes, I usually, there's an hourly charge or there's some group packages, but it really is individual. Some families want to talk to me once a week. Some families sort of want to have me on call. Sometimes I'll get text messages on Saturday night, and that's okay, or during the evening. Some people just once a month, they just want to touch base with me and tell me what's been going on, and then let me talk to them about what I think for the next month. So it looks different for everyone. And like I said, sometimes the services are different for everyone. So, when you look on my website, I have some examples, but, I couldn't possibly cover everything that everyone might need. So really, if someone needs something, they could just check with me, and I would let them know if it's something that I feel like I can honestly do or not.
Mm-hmm. I know that when we talk about the dementia process and that journey, and I love the way you put that journey, there are so many different parts and pieces to it that really you only survive if you take the time to get that education and learn how it's appropriate to reframe versus where sometimes it can be harmful. And communicating with someone with dementia is an art all in itself that, really takes some time to learn. So when you're providing education, Melissa, is that more one-on-one, or do you ever do like group sessions or webinars? Like if I need that education, how can I go about getting that from you?
Yes. So you can contact me, or we do a lot of, we pride ourselves in education. That's what we do. And so we do a lot of education. We try once a month to provide education. So on our website, under the events tab, or on Facebook, if you're on Facebook, under the events page, there's a bunch of different educations listed, how to register, but always anyone can contact me. So yes, I do provide a lot of group education. Actually on Zoom, we are coming up with, we could maybe talk about later, a 4-part dementia education series that I'm doing that I would recommend that anybody who is a caregiver attend. It is really we've had such positive feedback from the attendees, and it has really been invaluable for so many people. So I would recommend that anyone that is a caregiver or a loved one attend that. But yes, so we can do, and that is free of charge. So like, that's something that we just provide to the community because we really want to really just help our communities. But yes, we can do one-on-one or group sessions with a whole family or family and friends, whatever they want, really.
Perfect. Well, since we're talking about, let's delve right into the 4-part series. Let's talk about it now, and then we can revisit it again at the end of the hour, so we can remind everybody. I believe it's coming up in April.
It is. It's coming up in April.
Okay.
So what the 4-part series is, we call it Discovering Dementia, and it's basically just understanding the journey through Alzheimer's disease and other dementias. And we cover everything from A to Z, from the start to the finish. Basically, at the beginning, what is dementia? What is Alzheimer's? Because they're not the same thing. And a lot of people don't realize that. So we talk about that. We talk about some statistics and how it's affecting us. Then we go into communication and, how to communicate, what things maybe not to do. And so many people say, well, I've probably been doing it wrong this whole time then, and it's okay. That's why we are doing the education. It's okay, but so we talk about that. We talk about communication and maybe things that you've been doing and a way that you can change it. We go into behaviors and medications, medication options, and how to handle the behaviors and sometimes what they could mean. And then the very end, we talk about the end stage of Alzheimer's and what, maybe what your loved one might look like. What does that look like? And some options. And we talk a lot about hospice because I do have that hospice background, as you said, and I think it's a wonderful service, especially, for any disease, but especially for that one, because you need so much help, and your loved one who's living with the dementia or the Alzheimer's needs so much help as well. And so I talk a lot about hospice. I always joke that it's like a sales pitch for hospice, even though I'm not working for hospice. So it's certainly not a sales pitch, but people are afraid of hospice, as you know. And so I just kind of talk about what that looks like at the end of their life and other options too that they can choose. But so that I'll have to put my glasses on for this because I can't see. So that starts in April. It's every other week. Typically, that's what we try to do. So April 14th, all the way through May 26th. So it's 4 parts, 4 weeks in a row, and it's from 6 to 7 on Zoom. And again, that's on the website. as well as on the Facebook page, but also anyone can contact me. There's a contact me page on the website as well. So again, I recommend that anyone and everyone join that who is a caregiver or who has someone with the disease in their life, because it really is such a help.
Fantastic. So that's going to be starting on April 14th. It's going to go every other week. It'll be from 6 to 7 on Zoom, and it's completely free of charge. So Melissa's bringing you all this wisdom to help you navigate that journey completely free of charge. So we do need to make sure to register. That's important. It's just not a come one, come all. You're going to have to register to get the Zoom link. So we'll make sure that you've got that web address and that you've got that information in order to enroll. Very good, Melissa. I'm glad to hear that we have this service in the area. I think that we have so many wonderful resources, that exist out there, like the Alzheimer's Association that's offering those support groups. But unfortunately, they're just not able to provide that one-on-one that you're able to kind of come in and assess a situation and say, hey, here's some very concrete, actionable items that you can do to make your life easier and make the journey easier for your loved ones. So I'm grateful that your career brought you to this point and that you're here.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Of course. The other part of what you're up to with Melissa Chambers Consulting is, also near and dear to both of our hearts. That other part where you're able to help families is that senior living placement. So let's talk a little bit about what that part of your day looks like and how you're able to help families.
Yes. So that was one of my very favorite things about working in the senior living industry, was helping families that were searching, to get that phone call from a family who is not sure about mom or dad or husband or wife, and they're thinking about moving them. It's really an honor to receive that phone call and to be on the other end and to be that person that they're trusting to help them through this, because they do need assistance. Even healthcare professionals. I have helped healthcare professionals. They're in the healthcare system. They might even be working in the hospital, physicians, nurses. But if you don't realize exactly what's happening, it's very easy to kind of get lost and tossed around the system. And not that the system is necessarily bad or that it's anyone's fault. It's just a lot of people don't realize there are so many different parts and moving pieces. And, there's assisted living isn't the same thing as nursing home. Back in the day, it was just like everybody thought everything was a nursing home, and, you're basically going to throw them in and throw away the key and lock them up, and that was it. And that's just what it was. That's what just everybody thought. And it's so not what it is. And so many people, even healthcare professionals, don't realize the difference. And so it really is, just brings me so much joy and makes my heart happy to help those families, because really the families that I have helped, they just say, like, I don't know what I would have done. I don't know, like, I would have had no idea. God only knows where my mom would be right now, because I would have not known any of this. And so I really, really, really love to help families. The good news is, so I'm a senior living advisor through Senior Living Connections, which is, affiliated with Melissa Chambers Consulting. It's a local placement agency. It's been around for, my partner started it in the Columbus area about 4 years ago. And so we're local, we're a small agency. And what we do is just that. We help families who are thinking about, who are looking into moving their loved one to a senior living community, whether it be independent living or assisted living or memory care, or maybe you don't know. Maybe you don't know where they need to go, or maybe you don't know when it's time. Any of that is you can call us and we can talk through that with you. And, if we're talking to a family and we think, well, they're not really not ready for assisted living, we can make other suggestions. We can let you know about other resources, because again, so many people don't know that some resources that exist. So I just basically listen to the family member, listen to the person that's calling me, understanding what their situation is medically, what their healthcare needs will be, what they will look like. I would let them know what I think through my experience, and then talk about what location are they looking for, and also their budget, because all of those things, their healthcare needs, their location, and their budget all depend on where we can start looking. And then I will let them know that I will research, I will look into places and see what the best fit might be. And then I can come back to them and let them know, these are the places that I found. There might be 10 places in the area where they live or where they're looking, but maybe only 3 of them, because of their particular situation, might be a good fit. Maybe only 3 of them would work. And so there's no sense in looking or calling all of those 10 places if there's only 3 that really are options. And so again, they don't know that on their own, so I call all the places for them. I try to make the appointments for them. As long as it fits in my schedule, I try to go on the tours with them, just to help, just to kind of be there as a support and help ask questions. And I don't make any decisions for the families. I just help, lay things out there, answer questions for them, talk about how this, how do you pay for assisted living, talk about memory care, if their loved one has some sort of a dementia diagnosis, do they need memory care or do they not need memory care? What's the difference? And these families that I'm helping, they don't have to have some sort of a dementia diagnosis. It could be for any reason that they're looking to move their loved one. But, because Alzheimer's is so prevalent, and because dementia is affecting so many Americans, probably about 85% of all of the families that I help do have some sort of a dementia diagnosis, if it's not Alzheimer's. So a lot of times I am looking for places that have memory care sort of attached, because that is the situation for the person that I'm helping. But it's very rewarding for me. It's a free service for the family. It's a free service for anyone to refer the family to me. It costs nothing. I am almost act as a real estate agent, but for the senior living industry. So I do get paid if they move somewhere. I get sort of paid on the back end. And so I always like to tell people that, because, when you hear something's free, or you've always been told if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. And so when people hear that they don't have to pay me anything, I feel like they get kind of skeptical. And so I like to let them know I do get paid, but it just is not from the family. So it's a great service. Again, the families that I have helped they tell me that they're just forever grateful, because, it was just so easy and I took care of most of it. So I could go on and on and on about that, but I'll stop talking now. But no, I do really believe in the service, and really believe that it is just a great service, acting as an advocate for the families.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I also, when we kind of did our pre-call to talk through all of this about what we were going to talk about today, and one of the things that Melissa said that really stood out to me is that I love that you also kind of do a level set for the families and for the potential residents, because if you haven't had an experience with a nursing home or assisted living or independent living, you might not totally understand what you're signing up for. And so to have someone that has that inside look that can kind of clarify and level set expectations, so that, to make sure it's the right fit. And sometimes when we come in blind and we're trying to do something without that expert at our side, we have assumptions. The person at the facility may or may not know to kind of clarify those with us. So I love that you're kind of acting as an ambassador of goodwill on behalf of all those facilities that are out there. And the other thing that I wanted to mention is, I had a call earlier today, and we were talking about the aging population and what those demographics look like, and how, we are going to have more people over the age of 65 than any other generation here shortly. And it's going to be the healthiest group of seniors that we've seen in a long time, because as we've made medical advancements, we are all living longer, we are living healthier lives. And so, historically, you would think that, the age 65 was old. It was time to go to the nursing home. 65 is super young now. Like that's not how things are. And so the one thing I want to impress upon our viewers is to call Melissa, because you should start making these decisions and start looking before you're ready. The time to find an assisted living is not after the dementia diagnosis or after I've had a fall. You want to start thinking about these things a little bit sooner rather than later, especially with independent living. We have so many options for independent living in this area. And, if that's something that you're interested in, like having someone take care of your maintenance and not having to worry so much about caring for those things anymore, just enjoying yourself, going sooner rather than later can always be is a perk. And so if you're starting to go down that aging road and you want to kind of get your ducks in a row, it's no different than pre-planning your funeral. Call Melissa and start having those conversations so that you can be prepared as well. So but it is hard. And Melissa, I'm sure a lot of those calls you get are people that are calling after an incident, and now we're in panic mode and we're in a hurry.
Yes. Thank you for bringing that up, because that really is, most oftentimes, again, just like how we kind of put off going to the doctor or put off saying something to our loved one, because how do we even bring that up? How do we say, Mom, I feel like something's going on. I feel like something might be wrong. I feel like you're off. You're not acting yourself. You don't remember anything. How do we say that? And so just like we put that conversation off, we might realize that Mom or Dad or whoever our loved one is home alone. Maybe they shouldn't be. Maybe we're trying to put a schedule to get together with our family, like who can go over what day or what night, who can cook, who can bring the food over. Maybe we're now doing so much for our loved one, and we just kind of put off thinking in our head that something could happen. Or maybe we know any day now we're going to have a tragedy, but we don't want to make that call. And so often the people that I'm helping are the families of their loved ones that just fell at home. They broke their hip, they broke their shoulder, they're going to have surgery, and they're going to not be able to go home. And now what do? And that's okay. I can help those people. And I do help those people every day, but you're in so much of a better state of mind when you're not in that crisis or having that tragedy or in that emergency situation to make a clearer decision. So even if you're thinking, I know Mom or Dad is not ready for this yet, let's at least just talk about the options so that you kind of have a plan in place, and maybe a plan A, B, and C, So that's great. Thank you for bringing that up, because
absolutely. And
it is
even
so
for
important.
Definitely. And even for that potential resident to kind of to be well enough to still tour and have some say in, I really felt comfortable at this facility versus that facility, or it's important to me that I'm in this area, not that area. And the financing of it's a whole other conversation. The earlier we talk about it, the sooner we can start planning for how are we going to pay for this, or do I need to have a conversation with a lawyer to start the Medicaid process? So there's so many ins and outs. Melissa could put together probably a 12-month series and talk weekly about all the things that we need to do to prepare. And unfortunately it is a lot. And the sooner you start having those conversations, the better. So,
right. And with dementia, speaking of attorneys, it is so crucial to have those conversations sooner, very soon, rather than later, about, seeing an attorney, because you do have to worry about power of attorney and how long is your loved one with this dementia type diagnosis going to be able to appoint someone as a power of attorney. And some people think, oh, well, I got time for that, but it is so important to do that. And, there are certain attorneys that are better suited to help you, because just like physicians, have specialties, so do attorneys. And so I can talk to you about all of that as well.
And Melissa, please give us your business phone number so that if someone wants to reach out by phone as opposed to the internet, they have a way to reach you.
Sure. It's 330-623-7150.
Perfect. I hope that our viewers reach out to you and take advantage of the wisdom that you offer. I am so glad that we're able to stay in touch after all of our years ago working together, and that you're still out there and helping our community with all the wisdom that you have found. So I want to thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Danielle.
Of course. Until next time, please reach out to Melissa if you have questions, melissachambersconsulting.com. I hope everyone has a great day, and we will see you again soon.